Welcome back to the Ask the Expert series. Today we are rejoined by Drew McKechnie, and we're going to spend 10 minutes with Drew today and go through a couple of questions that are top of mind of either myself or the broader community that we're talking to. So as a quick refresh, Drew, head of consulting service commercialization at Google Cloud. And Drew, we're excited to have you back and looking forward to diving into these questions.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, first one. I'm going to pick on your title a little bit, right? Consulting services commercialization. One thing that we're seeing a lot of shift in and people are talking about is this changing customer expectations about what we're providing, what we consultants, we professional services are providing by way of services. Right? There's this spectrum of technical to advisory. There's this spectrum of digital and remote delivery to in-person. Are you seeing or are you anticipating any evolution in customers' expectations around what kind of services they want and how they want to receive those services?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of factors driving that. I think we'll definitely see the mechanics change, but I think some of the fundamentals will still be pretty steadfast. So when I talk about mechanics, obviously we had the pandemic, right? And everybody got comfortable doing this, right? They're doing video chats and all of the different platforms there and remote work and more virtual collaboration. And some people got pretty good at it. Some people really liked doing that and stayed remote, both on the client side and on the services side. So there are just different realities there, right? Not to be corny, but like, water cooler conversations and bumping into someone in the hallway and sort of these serendipitous moments that could spawn business development, that could spawn deeper relationships, that could lead to unlocks in certain change management or on any number of things. There obviously be less common if the physical presence is less important. The other main trend obviously has been AI, generative AI, and the role it's played in different parts of delivery and coordination and project management and a number of other aspects. I think on there, we're still at the point where I think there's some steadfast principles, right? I mean, the services business, your customers expect you to be well versed in whatever the technology du jour is. That's been the case probably the last 25, 30 years, and that's evolved quite a bit. So I think it's table stakes to be conversant in that technology, to be able to help customers with sort of the configuration, with identifying use cases for practical application. I think that's got to be a given. But I think what that also then strengthens is the need for the personal relationships. I think there is an importance as some of the work gets maybe more abstract or more meta, and some of the traditional environments where we might be bouncing off each other or having different conversations get replaced or shifted. We need to find new opportunities to double down and develop those relationships. Because at the end of the day, not to get morbid, but people always say when you're on your deathbed, they don't talk about the projects or I wish I worked harder on that deliverable or whatever, as much as that would be, sort of novel. They talk about the people they work with. The company's softball game, the happy hour they went to, when they stayed up all night working on that proposal, when somebody said something ridiculous at 2 a.m. when they were trying to complete a deliverable, or you remember the people you work with, you try to work with them again on different projects, right? As a partner in an organization, you develop teams, leverage people you'd like to work with. So it lends itself to that reality. I think that's still important, if not maybe more important today as we go virtual. And I'm looking at 2D screens of colleagues and customers all the time, but we're still social animals by design, by biology. So we need these interactions. We do like to have a vested interest in the person we're working with. We like to have a relationship and a foundation outside of work or outside of the technical thing we're discussing to rely upon if things get tricky or contentious or whatever. It's nice to have a relationship to fall back on. And I think that's going to be even more important.
Yeah, I mean, the clients and the situations that I remember most, and the strongest relationships that I still have with clients. There's two big stories that come to mind. One is we were preparing. I was working with a client. We'd spent tons of time with them, and it was our key contact, our key stakeholder there, and we were preparing for a presentation that they had to give the next morning. And we were supporting it. We had put together a lot of the content, but they were ultimately the one that had to deliver the strategy that we had been working on together. And we all went to dinner, and then we went back to the office. We grabbed I had at the airport, I had grabbed this big bag of chocolate covered espresso beans, and we sat in this conference room for like 5 hours and ate these
Oh, great.
espresso beans after dinner, and we were all caffeinated. We were just laughing. I mean, and like that specific event, and the meeting and everything the next day went well, but that specific event like built this bond and relationship that was very memorable for me. I think very memorable for the client. That's great that we produced a good outcome, but now you've got a relationship that you can follow up on. You can follow that person as they move throughout their career, go different places, and leverage that. And the other ones are international trips that we've taken for client situations where you just are forced to spend an extended amount of time on a plane, in an airport, at restaurants, hotel, everything with those people. Those are the kinds of relationships that really stick and matter.
Yeah.
And I do think that's incredibly important. It is. So I totally agree. We need to do it, but it is more challenging than ever when everything's expected to be more virtual and remote. Any pointers on how to? Those two scenarios I gave were very much it was because we were in person, it's because we had to work through something, and it was outside of work hours that you were really able to build those really strong relationships. Anything you found successful at trying to replicate that in the more virtual world?
Yeah, I think lean into the stuff this technology is really good at, and that's going to evolve, obviously. But today, allow that to create different opportunities. Like an environment like this on a video call or something. There's things that do automatic transcription, timestamps of key ideas. It can extract bullet points and action items from a conversation. It can identify actors in a conversation. So maybe the way you do mini minutes is going to fundamentally change. But also, you know, uh, who needs to be on those calls? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can time shift and even context and location shift. Certain big meetings, if it's a critical decision meeting, obviously you still need to be there. But if it's an informational meeting or a status meeting, you can have someone capture it, have it dictate the information, feed that into something, and you can listen to it as a podcast.
Yeah.
So you could listen to the highlights from a meeting you missed while you're at the gym and get that hour, half hour from that meeting, that time back to do something. You could be on travel, you could be doing other work, you could be doing other things. You still don't miss anything. You're still up to speed on the latest, but you've created an opportunity to maybe give yourself some more efficiency or give yourself some more leverage. How that can play into relationships, I think you make time to do, even if it's virtual, to check in. That's not work related. Not the corny dark in the doorway, like thought of you, here's a pen, that type of stuff. But literally just, hey, I put 20 minutes on your agenda just to chat, to see how you're doing. If this is what we get, I want to let you know I'm not here just to talk about, these topics that are in our weekly stand up, right? So I found that really helpful. I have a number of meetings on Fridays with virtual coffee chats with different people around my organization that I've met through all sorts of random encounters that don't have anything to do with my line of sight, my organization, my customers, my day-to-day business, but it gives me some more perspective. It allows me to have human interactions and human conversations, and I need that, and I think they do too. So again, it's good at making connections. It's easy to set these things up. It's easy to then time shift or context shift the things you need from them. But it also creates an opportunity to be human and to hop on a call for 10 minutes and just see how somebody's doing.
Yeah, no, I love the advice. Especially, I think it's helpful. Last time we spoke on the podcast, you were really into the topic that we were focusing on was the cheat code for your first couple of years in consulting and how to get ahead. This
Yeah.
this notion of this internal networking and building those relationships and not needing a reason to stay in contact with people that you don't have regular interaction with, but other than to build and expand your relationship, I think is an important piece of guidance there. You've touched on a couple of I think AI use cases here, right? Some note taking and some summarization of meeting notes and some different things like that. One of the big topics that's been on everybody's mind that I've talked to recently in professional services is, hey, what are the use cases for AI in our delivery and our management of our team and just our daily work? Anything that you either can envision or you've actually personally experienced to be effective to yeah, just AI use cases for PS workers.
Yeah, and I definitely, I mean, I've dogfooded a number of things. I've got in early on the technology. I think as a lot of us in consulting, we try to be, again, conversant in the latest. I've been cautious at sort of the importance or the reliance on some of these things, but I found, and again, that will evolve over time, but I've seen a number of use cases where it's been helpful. On those meetings, on that other stuff, sometimes capturing that as a refresher, having a different context, something written versus my memory versus my handwritten notes as a reference point. Parsing a ton of documents. I don't do, detailed like scientific research or anything, but I'll do a lot of competitive analysis. I'll review a lot of industry publications on different positioning or different themes in the market, and putting those all into like Notebook LM or some other tool to sort of process and chunk out and give you different synopses, right? And I'll try every different thing. Give me the two-person podcast. Give me the study guide. Give me the different flavors, right? And see if there's something different I glean from it. Um, One thing I think that's good for writing, I wouldn't use it to necessarily generate a lot of original content, especially on white papers or any sort of strategic stuff that I do, but I would have it read things back to me or give me information about my writing, right? Is there a more concise way to do this? Is there, what is your read, UAI? What is your read on the key themes of this document? Do they get lost? Are they obvious? And how well some of those things do at parsing that information, provides me a feedback mechanism on my paper that I don't have to find a human to go check necessarily. So my drafts get more polished, my iterations get quicker, my feedback loop gets tighter.
Yeah.
Um, there's a number of other things, having it interview you, a lot of things for writing, whether you're a content creator, whether you're working on white papers or thought leadership and consulting, not to feed it an outline and have it right? Because there's all those things now, and well, this is definitely AI generated because of the M dash or these other. I love the M dash. I
Yeah, I
always
was
have.
using it prior to that, so I don't know.
Right,
That doesn't
but
seem like a fair criticism.
but there are all these tells. But what people don't do is just flip it around.
Yeah,
So give it a great prompt. Prompt engineering is the new thing. Get really good at prompt engineering, but have it, assume this role, interview me about this topic, touching on a couple of the things from your outline, and it will spawn a number of questions, and you can even have conversations with different agents, and you can have a more organic, like this, right? This is a more organic conversation. If we tried to go off the script or we tried to go off, prepared remarks, it might be a little more stilted. But if I'm reacting to a question and I'm providing a more organic, more thoughtful response, and so I get sort of more natural language. I'm not trying to parse data. I'm not trying to combine sentiments or analyze information and make very succinct takeaways. I'm actually just giving my thoughts, and sometimes that's very freeing, and it's a very good mechanism for drafting things.
yeah, I like it. Right, you could the stream of consciousness and the ability to go in a couple of different directions, and then have something capture that and organize it back to you a little bit, so that you can. It's your original thought, but it's organized in a slightly different way. I've found helpful. I love the idea of, and I don't use it as often as I should, but of, hey, tell me what the three main points of this are, and make sure that it actually aligns with the three main points that you were trying to
Right.
articulate when you wrote
If
it.
they're not, you got to rewrite it. It's
Right,
not,
right. And then the third, the one that I've used it a lot for is, as I put something together, whether it's a document that's a piece of thought leadership or a white paper, or even I mean anything. It's the, hey, give me the three big things that you would push back on this. Be as constructive as possible, or as critical as
right.
possible about, like, where would you poke holes in this argument, so I know what I
What are
need
the
to.
weakest points of my argument? Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I know where to tighten it up a little bit. So I love those. I love the plug for Notebook LM as well. I think it's the most
It's just a
effective.
cool. I don't mean to be a hometown,
No, no,
whatever,
no. I,
but
I I have no dog in the fight, and it is an incredibly powerful tool for.
we see a lot of these things on the consumer side. We see a lot of things on the enterprise side, but something like that, I think, bridges both pretty
Yeah,
successfully. And it's novel use cases and things. It sounds really interesting, but you wouldn't necessarily see the value immediately. But as soon as you start playing with it, again, in whatever context, personal or professional, you start to unlock different things.
yeah,
It's like before we knew TiVo or DVRs or other things. Before we realized we could time shift or context shift or put things on our schedule. Just the possibilities that unlocks are pretty interesting.
yeah. Well, Drew, I think we're at time here. I appreciate it. It flew by, and we'll do more of these. Thanks for the time.
Sounds good.
All right, take
Look
care.
forward to talking to you soon.